From the dirty back alleys of the internet wrestling community, from the comment section straight to your ear, this is Still Real Radio!
Ladies and gentlemen, hello and welcome to Still Real Radio. This is it, the show where you don't have to agree with the things that we say. We probably won't agree with the things that you say, but we can all agree that it is still real to us.
Yes.
I am one of your hosts. My name is Josh Foster.
And I am Zanka.
And of course, it's a big week. We had WrestleMania, NXT TakeOver, Raw after Mania, SmackDown after Mania. We're going to get into all of that, but earlier this week we were lucky enough to speak with Justin Roberts. His new book is out now, Best Seat in the House, Your Backstage Pass Through My WWE Journey. We're going to play that interview right now, and here we go. Well, congratulations on the new book, Best Seat in the House, Your Backstage Pass Through My WWE Journey. You seem to be getting excellent reviews so far, so how does it feel to get such a positive response to the book?
That's what I was hoping for. I just wanted to tell my story. You know, I've always been fascinated by autobiographies and people's stories, and I felt as a wrestling fan, I had a pretty unique story. I wanted to tell it, and I wanted to tell it honestly. A lot of people put books out, and sometimes they're with the company, and they have to be careful what they talk about, or they have to spin things a certain way. I wanted to tell my story honestly. I didn't want to put anything out there that I would regret, like, I should have been honest about this. I wanted to be honest when I told my story. So in doing so, I think people can get that vibe from reading it. They know it's not being bitter. I'm not out to hurt anybody. I'm just simply telling my story. You guys hear me okay?
Yeah, we lost for a second, but we got you.
Okay. I was at WrestleCon this weekend and heard from a lot of people who had just started reading it, a couple people who had actually finished it. People are telling me that they read it in 2 or 3 days, which is mind-blowing to me because, to me, it's a pretty long book.
Right.
But I guess people are saying that once they start, they just can't put it down. It's just insightful. It's true story that if you're a wrestling fan, you will be able to relate to, and you'll get to learn a lot about what my journey was like. So feedback's been good, and I appreciate that.
Yeah, I'd like to say, I'm not what you would call a reader, but I gotta say, man, it seemed like more of a conversational piece. Like, it felt like, I'm only halfway through, but while I was reading it, it just felt like I didn't want to put it down because I felt like I was in the middle of a conversation with you. Every story comes off as, like you said, honest. I don't get the bitter vibe at all. I think you're just coming from a great point of view where it's literally through your eyes, everything you saw. And I got to be honest, to me anyway, it just felt like a conversational piece. Like you were really, you were right there. And the way you wrote it and the way it came through, I enjoy it thoroughly.
Thank you very much. There's people who I've known for a long time who have said the same thing, just that it sounds conversational.
Yeah.
And I'm not a writer. I'm not a professional writer by any means. I haven't really written anything since college when I was writing essays. So I hadn't written in a long time, and I never picked up a book, how to write a book 101. I never did that. So I don't know if I did things the right way. I don't know if I did what authors are supposed to do. But I'm not an author. I'm a wrestling fan who got to live out my dream, and I just wanted to tell everybody about it. And the great thing about the publisher that I'm with, I said, are you guys going to try and change whatever I write? They said, absolutely not. They said, this is your story. We're going to edit the grammar and the punctuation. This is your story. You tell your story. And I appreciate that because there's a lot of publishers out there that have deals that don't allow something like this. So,
right.
They allow me to be honest, and I appreciate that.
Excellent, man. Well, it's great to talk to you. Just wondering, did you watch WrestleMania over the weekend?
I did. I saw most of it.
And was there like a certain moment from the show that really stood out to you? Obviously, it was full of a couple really big moments, but was there one, when it was all said and done, that you just couldn't stop thinking about?
I mean, obviously, the big moment for me as a fan is how it ended with Undertaker.
Right.
If that was his last match, which that seems to be the talk. It's weird. That was a guy that was wrestling in the first pay-per-view that I watched, and it's a huge part of my childhood. And then being able to work with him later on, I mean, that character is one of a kind. That character is part of the appeal to pro wrestling, I think. So watching that, just it's kind of sad at the end if that was it. Just seeing his coach hat in the ring and just sitting there, and that could be the end. It's they talk about the end of an era. That really is.
Oh yeah.
That was probably the biggest moment for me.
Now, you hear from a lot of wrestlers when they're standing in the ring and the Undertaker's gong hits and they see his entrance, just how it sends goosebumps and chills down their spine and everything. What's it like from your perspective? Because you've been in the ring when he's come down that aisle way. What's that like for you?
It's the same.
Same?
It's the same thing. And I actually just got the chills, because when you ask me a question, I think about it and I put myself in there. And when you just asked me that, literally just got chills thinking about that.
That's awesome.
When you hear that eerie music, when you see the smoke, the lights, and you see that silhouette coming down to the ring, man, it's the kid in me is still thinking the ominous Undertaker. You hear Gorilla Monsoon's voice in your head. It's neat. And then that announcement that I used to give, that was organic. That was just something that I felt. That was something that I thought went with his entrance, and he's the Undertaker. He's going to get a big reaction. You need to give an introduction that goes along with that. You can't just be like, oh, it's the Undertaker.
Right. I know we were talking before we started the interview. I was like, man, his call when the Undertaker would come down was probably my favorite version of someone saying the Undertaker's name. I know Tony Chimmel gets a lot for Edge's superstar thing, but the way you enunciated Undertaker, man, it was so perfect.
It was something that you could feel.
Right.
People, even the wrestlers used to come to me and be like, man, you gave me goosebumps. And that's what I liked. That's what you should get when you hear The Undertaker getting introduced to the ring. And I don't think he's been introduced since I left. I noticed they haven't given him an introduction, so it's just kind of weird. It's not that he needs one, but it's like, I don't know, it's just strange.
Yep.
Well, obviously, like your book says, you had the best seat in the house, so you get to absorb the crowd reactions better than anybody. I always kind of wondered what it's like standing in the middle of the ring, because sometimes there's a little bit of a disconnect between who the fans like and who WWE wants to push, so to speak. I was just wondering, is there anybody throughout the course of your career that you just felt like got a massive reaction that the company sort of missed the boat on?
Yeah, there were a lot of those guys, and you'd hear that reaction, and, you give them the big introduction, too, because they deserved it, because the crowd was into them, but, the next week they might be on Superstars, or they might not be on the show at all, or in a backstage segment. It's very common, it's a passionate fan base, and they tell you who they like. And a lot of that is just organic. Over time, it builds up. I mean, John Cena started on Velocity. He started week after week on Velocity and organically took off. So a lot of guys aren't put in a position to take off. Look at Damien Sandow. He was put in the opposite position. Damien Sandow was out to fail. And, man, he hit every one of those gimmicks out of the park. He was so over. And, he wasn't supposed to be.
Right.
But
yeah, it's funny.
That, and we loved it. We as in, me and my buddies that work there, we loved that because he should be getting over because it's great.
Yeah, he was very in on the entertainment aspect. I mean, he was just everything he touched seemed to turn to gold, and I think the fans saw that. And sometimes, the crowd reactions to me anyway, you see if it seems like they're holding somebody down like they were for Sandown, more people rally around that and really seem to with him especially.
Daniel Bryan.
Exactly. Yep.
Daniel Bryan was the one that they couldn't fight, and he did well. He overcame that because crowd liked it so much, as they should.
Right.
It's great.
Now, do you think you had a part in the Daniel Bryan rise after the Columbia necktie situation?
No.
No, I know.
I can't take any credit for that. I can't take any credit for that. Daniel Bryan is very talented.
Yeah.
It's not on me. I mean, that angle, it was cool. It got over, and it helped him on the indie scene. Not that he needed anything to help him on the indie scene after that, but it was beneficial for sure.
The controversy aside from that, how awesome is it to be a part of like a moment that people still talk about?
As far as that doesn't exist, it was like erased from history for a time,
Right, yeah.
and then I think it eventually came back. But it was neat. It was really neat. I talk about it in full in the book.
Right.
Talk about what happened and what I knew, what I didn't know, and it was cool. We all liked it. Everybody liked it. Everybody was happy with it, and then he got fired. And that sucked. But it worked out okay for him in the end.
And just to clear things up, it was not your fault that he got fired.
Fans would ask me at ringside, why did you get him fired? Why did you tell Vince McMahon that? What did I tell Vince?
Right.
Well, on the subject of
that
things,
was great TV.
On the subject of things that you did and didn't know, I was kind of worried because this was such a huge match, Money in the Bank 2011 with Punk and Cena, obviously in Chicago. I'm sure that was a big moment for you. What was it like just being at ringside for that, and how much did you know about how that ending was going to go down?
I call that one of my favorite moments. I really do. That crowd was electric. I mean, the Chicago crowd is always good, but that night especially, and with Punk being Punk and a Chicago guy, and Cena being Cena, I mean, that moment standing in the ring. There's a picture. I think there's a picture of Punk sitting in the ring with Scott Armstrong and I behind him standing, and that moment is just amazing because there hadn't been a lot of moments like that. The storylines hadn't been, they hadn't been terrific in a while, and that storyline was so red hot, and to be in Chicago for it was just awesome. So loud. Loved it.
Yeah, it seems like the storylines that happen organically, kind of like that one, morphed itself into. Those ones seem to just get over so well.
Absolutely.
Now I got a question. You see what's going on with Morrow and his depression and all that. Do you think the workload of WWE was what kind of weighed on him a little bit, or do you think? Because I know you've talked about there's a little bit of bullying that happens verbally, I guess, or mentally. Does that take place often, or is it just kind of like an offshoot thing?
Yeah, that's the mentality of the company. They like that stuff.
Yeah.
The higher ups like the ribbing and like riding everybody. As far as moral, I can't. I've seen what's out there, and I see what people are saying and how they're putting it together with some other things. I don't know Morrow. I like his work, and I heard he's a great guy. Never heard a bad thing about him. So I can't say anything because I don't know his situation. I don't know if it's just speculation that maybe that's what happened, or it was related to that or not. I don't know because I don't know him. We've never talked. So I know how the media can be when you just assume, hey, it's probably due to this, and then it turns into a story that it is because of that, and then people they do stories and talk like I would be doing right now. It's like, well, it's probably because of this. I don't want to do that just because I don't know. So unless I know what it is for sure, then
it's understandable.
I don't know for the situation.
Well, take a lighter note. Was there any funny good ribs that were performed on you or done to you or that you did to somebody?
Oh, the fun, harmless ones.
Right.
I mean, we're always goofing around. You're with these guys and girls more than you're with your friends and family. You're on the road together every day. I mean, you might have a couple days off if you're not doing international tour in between, but you're on the road with them so often, and you have so much downtime in between the travels. Sometimes it's like a 4-hour layover, 5-hour layover. There's a lot of time sitting around in the arenas, so you're just constantly doing little things to entertain yourself and each other. I always talk about Tommy Dreamer, who's one of my favorite people, and I would always try to rip him in his introduction, or camera phones were like a big thing, and I would always try to just change something subtle in his introduction just to make him laugh, and then I would end up making myself laugh more than anything, and laugh and screw up his introduction, and not be able to like get it out. So that's my favorite.
Yeah.
Love, ribbing Tommy on his introduction, but then I messed it up. He'd get to the ring and tell me that I was the worst ring announcer ever. That was unprofessional. Poor guy.
I'm sure he'll forgive you. I wouldn't worry about it. So obviously, when you got into the company, you started at the very, very bottom, and you worked your way up eventually to Raw and all these huge events. But it was probably a big milestone for you when you got to be part of the ECW launch. What was that kind of like going into that? Obviously, WWE's ECW revival doesn't have the best legacy, but when you guys were launching that and you were becoming a part of that, what was the vibe? Did everybody feel like it was going to work, or was there some apprehension, maybe people thought it was doomed from the start sort of thing?
That was huge for me because I had been there and been around since 2002, but there was never any place for me. It was like I would do Sunday Night Heat or Velocity, or Fill In, or I was doing, at the time I was doing like the Raw house shows and then doing the Heat TV. So it was the first time, like, cool, I get to be, Shimmer was SmackDown and Lillian was Raw. I get to be ECW, so it was awesome. I had a spot. When I first came in, it was, we were hoping that it was going to be a real deal because those pay-per-views were very successful. And it was all the ECW originals, so we were all excited about it. And I got to know the ECW guys, and I talked about that in the book. Like, I was always starting over with a new crew. I would be on one brand and then switch to the next brand once I got comfortable, then switch to another brand. But ECW, I always say, was my favorite time in the company. The summer of ECW was so much fun. And those guys and girls were just characters. They were characters, and it was always fun. It was like, I'd say it was like getting paid to do the indies. We were just having fun. There were no politics. It was great. As time went on, we saw the writing on the wall. It didn't take long. They would slowly start dropping the ECW guys and slowly start bringing in WWE guys, and we knew what was happening.
I got a question from Sabrina_21 on Instagram that says, what would you say is the best advice you got while working under the WWE brand? And have you used that in your life outside of wrestling as well?
Best advice. So I was constantly on the road with Paul Heyman, Arn Anderson, Dean Malenko, Fit Finlay, just some of the greatest minds in wrestling, and I was constantly picking their brains. So I don't know if there was one piece of advice. I guess the first thing that comes to mind, there's a lot, but the first thing that comes to mind is Fit Finlay, who knew of everything I was going through early on when I first started there, and I was going through a lot. And it told me not to give up. Don't let it get to me. Don't give up. And I was close to giving up and took his advice, and I didn't. And because I didn't give up, I was able to have the run that I had, which was unfathomable. I had a really good run.
I've always been curious when it comes to ring announcers. You guys have to memorize just so much information. Like when it comes to the stats and weight and hometowns and all that stuff, is there do you just have to do all that research independently? Is there a certain method that you go through to try and commit all that stuff to memory? Or do they sort of give you like a call sheet to help you out on with all that info?
Now, when I came in, I didn't have anything. I was coming in and my first show was going to be at SmackDown, and I didn't have anybody's information. So I was like on the website gathering it, and then I'd check with the other announcers, and they'd be like, oh yeah, you announced this, but it's actually this. And so I would change it, and before long, I had this list that I had compiled, and as time went on, I became the guy that, because nobody else really cares about weight and hometowns, but I did. That was my deal.
I still love it.
I made it a point to be the guy to keep track of everybody's weight and hometown on all the brands, and that way, when new guys came in, we weren't giving everybody the same weights. I was playing with a pound or two here and there. Same with hometowns. So I would keep track of all that. I would give it to the commentators just to keep them on the same page. And then at one point in time, Vince decided that he wanted to use everybody's real weights versus the, extra couple pounds here and there. So then we went with everybody. So I had everything memorized because I was doing it night after night. So you get it. And if you don't know somebody's weight, then you just put up before their match. And that's what I would do before every show. I would sit there and make sure I had everybody's weight in hometown in there. But you get used to when you hear somebody's name, you know their weight in hometown from doing it night after night. When Vince changed everything, I had to memorize everybody's new weights, and that took a little time. And then after a while, he would slowly change it, like, that sounds too low, let's make it this. It's going to be this now. So then slowly we went back to, the extra points here and there.
Now, what was more nerve-wracking for you? Would it be ring announcing for a WrestleMania, or when your book finally was getting released on that day? What for you got the nerves going more?
It's weird writing out your life story.
Right,
it really is for the world to see. It's always a pretty private person, and I had pretty high walls, and then to write a story that I could completely open up in. I mean, I've got family telling me that, hey, we never knew this stuff. And, people who know me really well didn't know most of what was in there because I've never put my thoughts out the way that I did with this. I really put everything in there, my heart and soul, and I wanted to tell my story. So that was nerve-wracking. It still is, and when people tell me that they're reading the book, I always say, tweet me your feedback afterwards. Even if it's negative, let me know what you think. I'm curious to hear people's opinions because I put everything out there and I just want to know what people think. So WrestleMania was, of course, nerve-wracking, especially when I had, the announcements on top of the regular wrestling announcements. Please welcome two-time Grammy Award nominee and whatever. And tonight's attendance, we have set a brand new attendance record here of whatever. And just all those little announcements, and you never know when you're going to get called upon to make them. So you just have everything in your head, like a filing cabinet, and you have to pull that file out that's memorized and do it on the spot. No cards, no earpiece in my ear. Just kind of doing everything on the fly there.
Would have been pretty amazing if you were like, here to sing the Star Spangled Banner, weighing in at 110 pounds, Whitney Houston.
Yeah, I should have done that. I would have loved to do something like that, but
no,
I don't think they would have been into it.
Obviously, you've announced the best of the best in the industry. Is there anybody out there who you wanted to announce that you never got the chance to?
Macho Man Randy Savage. I got to announce him in the video game, but never in real life. That was quick, right?
Yes.
It was the one guy that, that would have been awesome. I got to announce Warrior and Hogan and Bret and Stone Cold and Rock, but I never got to introduce the Macho Man. He was definitely one of my favorites. I got to introduce Kurt Anyway. Now, I refereed on a tour that he was working just so I could work with him, and I think that was the only time that I worked with him, and I still got on the mic, and I don't know if I got to say his name, but I was on the mic with him in the ring, so that was cool.
That's awesome.
He was one of my favorites.
Now, obviously, you had a really long career with WWE, and I've heard you say it so many times here that that you are still a fan, and that's very important to remain a fan. But did working for the company and working in the industry, did it change how you view the business at all?
Yeah, because people will do interviews and they'll ask me questions, like they would to any other fan that they're talking to, and it's different for me because I see things as a fan, but also as someone who is there and knows what's going on, and it makes it a little bit harder. I can't just enjoy it as a fan. I look at it. I'm too passionate about wrestling, so I really analyze that stuff. So it's hard to just enjoy it like a 12-year-old watching the show, which is what I did, in the early 90s. Loved everything.
I think that sort of happens to everybody as we get older, so it's just kind of a thing.
Yeah.
We all analyze it too much, but that's okay. It's about being a fan,
Yeah, it was different back then. It was two guys sitting around a pool, writing these storylines that were really well thought out and, went a long ways and now it's just like this whole team of people just putting stuff together, last minute, and it's just whatever happens, it comes together, and sometimes it doesn't, and it's just, different.
Yeah, unfortunately, storylines do leave a lot to be desired as of late, it seems. But we touched on the Punk Cena storyline, which happened so organically. Are there any other storylines during your run with the company that really stand out to you that you really enjoyed?
Brian and Kane, that was one of my favorites.
That was fun, yeah.
That wasn't supposed to be what it was. Let's put Daniel Bryan and Kane together. Okay, that was phenomenal. I always talk about those matches at the end of the night when the match was over and they would just do their shtick. It was so entertaining, and it never got old. And the same thing with Santino Marella. Everything Santino did was hysterical. So entertaining. I love that.
Now I got a question. What do you as a ring announcer? Say Monday Night Raw is happening, you do your announcing, then you go sit in the corner. What are you doing in that amount of time? Are you just watching the matches, or are you going over other
things? Playing on my phone.
Playing on your phone, really?
Man, I mean, some of those shows were rough. It was 3 hours, and it was the same stuff every week, and so I would just sit back at ringside and make sure that I knew what was happening in the next segment, and if I didn't know, try to find out an answer. I mean, sometimes I'd get my answer when I got to the ring. Sometimes I wouldn't get my answer at all. I just had to figure out what was going on. But there are other nights I would just sit there and tweet pictures from ringside, and just go on Twitter and interact with fans.
And work on your book that you were gonna release.
Never did that at ringside.
No, I know.
Now, how long did it take you to write the book? How long were you working on it for? As soon as you left?
No, I started working on it while I was still there, and I was on a flight with Chris Jericho, and I showed him, and I go, I can't do anything with this because I'll get fired. And so he's like, well, you could do this, you could do this, you could twist this around and make this a little bit lighter, and so we talk about that, and it got to the point where I had some stuff written, but I just needed to put it away for a while because I didn't have anywhere to go with it. So once I was released, then just picked it up and got right back into it. But it was about 3 years from when I started typing it out. A little over 3 years.
You just mentioned his name, but is Chris Jericho exactly how you would think he is in real life?
He's just like he is on TV.
Yeah, that's what I mean. He seems so awesome.
Yeah, he's the best. He's funny and talented and does everything. Author, singer, wrestler.
Oh, I tell my wife all the time, I'm like, if I ever got to pick somebody to come back as, it'd be Jericho. He doesn't do just one thing. He does everything, and everything he does is awesome.
There's nothing that he doesn't do.
Right.
Great.
Who would you say was the absolute nicest person in pro wrestling that you've met throughout your career?
You can't answer that. That's hard. There are so many nice people. I always say there's probably a handful of people I didn't like in over a decade of working there. A handful. So think about all the guys and girls who came and went in those years. That's saying something.
Yeah,
so
it really
many
is.
really, really great people. So many just super nice people, and a lot of good people. I've met a lot of good people from working there.
Well, I'd say that's a pretty positive response.
Yeah.
It's better than the opposite, that's for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
Now, you came up with your the title, Best Seat in the House. Was that going to be the title the whole time? Because I got to be honest, when I saw that, I know this seems like a lame question or whatever, but it's honest. I was like, that's the perfect title for that book, especially coming from you, like the ring announcer. I just think, because oftentimes I see those guys, I see the commentators, and I'm like, I would kill just to sit there and watch the show sometimes.
I always said it, and people always said it to me. You've got the best seat in the house.
Right.
And I did. When I was a kid, I always tried to get ringside seats, and those were hard to get. So once I worked there, it's like, in order to get these seats, I have to work for the company. And to be able to sit at ringside, I had the best seat in the house every night at every show. I saw it from beginning to end, sitting right at ringside, just like the fans. And then I also had the best seat backstage. I had all access to go everywhere and see and do everything, and being on the road with everybody, on the planes with everybody, in the buses and the cars with everybody. I had the best seat in the house. So it truly was the best seat in the house, and it truly is a backstage pass through my WWE journey because I take you behind the scenes and tell you what it was like.
Now, we'll wrap this up with one last question. Seeing as how you're at the gym right now, meathead style, how much you bench?
Man, I'm old. I'm old.
Say.
I don't pay attention to that. I just go through the motions. When I come here to think. I just go through the motions and mail in a workout and think, just letting the mind wander. That's where the ideas for the book first came about. I was at the gym and I thought of like a funny story that happened, and I made a note in my phone like, oh, if I ever write a book, I have to remember to talk about this. And then I just started making notes while I was at the gym. That's why it was like 3 years for the book process, but this started way before that.
I actually lied. Can I ask you one more question? You said you wrote down notes. Now, when you were laying out your book, did you just have like notes written out, and then you wrote those stories from those notes, and then like kind of chronologically put them in order?
I had all these notes.
Yeah.
How about I had all these notes, and I just sat down on a plane because I wanted to stay awake, and I usually slept on planes. And I just started typing my story from where I wanted to start at childhood, and just started typing it from my head. Later on, I had different lists. I don't think I ever went into that original list of stories I wanted to talk about. I don't think I ever went into that actual list. So some of those happen to be in there. A lot don't, but it was like I had a lot already, and I don't think I needed any more stories. Maybe I did. I don't know. I didn't want to
save them for the sequel.
Well, Justin, thank you so much for speaking with us. Like I said, the reviews for your book are phenomenal. Good luck with everything. Do you have any appearances coming up, book signing appearances? Like you said, you're working out to get ripped for the book. So you have anything going on you'd like fans to attend?
April 30th, I'll be in Tucson, signing a championship wrestling from Arizona at the Desert Diamond Casino. Other than that, I'm going to be going on tour with the music group Tool coming up in May. So I just do some book signings while I'm on that tour.
That's awesome.
So stay tuned to JustinRobertsBook.com, and all the dates will be on there.
Excellent, man. Well, best of luck with Tool. That's amazing. How did that come together?
Thanks. It'll be, I think it's my third tour. Adam Jones, the guitarist, had approached me during SummerSlam in LA about introducing them, and I said sure. So I introduced them at a show, and then when I wasn't with the company anymore, he said, hey, we're going to be doing this thing in Arizona. Would you want to come host? And I said, yeah, absolutely. So I did it, and then he came up to me that night. He goes, you have to come on tour with us. And that's how I started going on tour. So organic.
There you go. Best storylines right there.
It was
Absolutely.
a good fit. They're really good guys, really talented, and love going out with them.
Well, we're going to let you get back to your workout, but we're going to continuously plug your book because we just want to say thanks again for taking the time talking with us. And you really are. You're just an honest, great guy, and I'm looking forward to finishing your book.
Sounds good. Thanks, guys.
Cool, man.
Enjoy
Thank
the
you
rest
so
of the
much.
book. Hope you like it.
Oh, I
Take care.
definitely.
Once again, thank you so much to Justin Roberts for calling into the show, guys. His book is out now, Best Seat in the House, your backstage pass through my WWE journey. So definitely check it out. It is worth your time. All right, so WrestleMania week, this is it. This is the week we've all been waiting for. It finally arrived. Zenka, how do you feel coming out of WrestleMania week? Did it live up to the hype, exceed expectations? Were you let down? How are you feeling?
I thought it was good. I mean, it was better than I was expecting because I wasn't expecting much, especially from a lot of the matches. I didn't think I didn't know how they would go, but after WrestleMania, I thought the stories were all told pretty well. There was a couple duds here and there, and I don't know why. Maybe people were short on time or whatnot, but I thought NXT TakeOver was great. I thought WrestleMania was pretty good, and then the Raws and SmackDown. I thoroughly enjoyed my week of wrestling. I'm full now. I'm at the brim of wrestling at this moment.
No more wrestling. Well, one thing I can say is that they kicked off the show right anyway. WrestleMania 33, everybody was down. We've been talking about it for months. Why did they put AJ Styles with Shane McMahon? But I got to say, given the circumstances, I thought that they did much better than anyone expected them to do. And that was honestly one of the better matches of the whole show.
Oh, I totally agree. I thought it was right up top 3 match anyway. I mean, the only other matches that I thought should be even in the same sentence, I thought Jericho and Kevin Owens, and I thought Austin Aries versus Neville. I thought those 3 matches right there alone were the ones that really stood out to me. But
as far as AJ and Shane, I thought they told a great story, man, really. I thought Shane O'Mac did get his bumps in where he could jump off top rope through the announce table and all that, but I thought, AJ Styles could wrestle you and I, and it would be a fucking 5-star match, so no fault at all to him or anything, really. He went out there and fucking had a great showing again, and I was really excited to see him pull one out on the grandest stage of them all, too.
I just love how they worked in the weapons into the match with the ref bump.
As soon as we saw that, we were like, oh, here it comes.
There we go. The ref stays out long enough for them to use a trash can, go through a table, and all that. I thought that was hilarious because you knew that Shane McMahon, he needed to do something. They're hyping it up as a traditional wrestling match, and everybody's saying, well, how the hell is this going to work? But they made it work. I thought it was pretty good. Obviously, the big thing coming out of the show, everybody's talking about Roman Reigns and The Undertaker, and it appears that The Undertaker's career is over.
Didn't. Dude, Roman Reigns, it's his yard now. I mean, I don't want to say anything. He'll come after me and retire me next from the podcasting world. So, kudos to that guy. I thought, Taker definitely looked like he needed some time off during that match. And kudos to that guy for just putting it all out there, too, though. And I thought, Roman gets shit on or whatnot, but I thought he really handled everything really well in there. I mean, you saw Taker really couldn't post up for that reverse tombstone, and he just rolled with the punches. He literally hit him with a Superman punch right after. There was no hesitation on his part or anything, and say what you will about Roman, but his timing in the ring is just perfect. The way he paced that match really well, I feel.
It was a little tough to watch at times. I mean, I felt like they had a little bit of miscommunication there. Some of the spears looked a little goofy. Obviously, like you said, they couldn't get the reverse tombstone, but honestly, man, I'm watching Taker, and I love The Undertaker. It seems like his time is done. It seems like maybe that was one too many for The Undertaker, but I think that they told regardless of what you think of the actual match, what really got me was the story. I think they told an incredible story. The way Roman was looking at him at the end, like he didn't really want to put him down, but he did what he had to do. I thought that was great and a great way for Taker to go out. It seems like this is the end for him. So, I mean, what a memorable farewell.
Yeah, another way to look at the story they told, too, is, real life mixed with theatrics. I mean, Taker really is hurt, but it really played, to me anyway, looking back on it, it was like, the young up-and-comer in Roman Reigns, so to speak, coming to take the yard versus Taker, who he looked like an old man at points in that match. So I thought they told a really cool story, and I really feel like, people were saying how could you have Roman Reigns do this or that. I think Undertaker's injury, you could see it throughout the match or whatever. It told a cool story where he was maybe limited in certain respects to where Roman Reigns could capitalize. So it wasn't Taker at 100% in storyline-wise as well as real life. So I don't feel like it hurt either guy. If anything, I really feel like, Roman's going to take off from here. Just they're not going to turn him heel, but Jesus Christ, the fans are.
Well, like you said, regardless of whether or not WWE officially turns Roman Reigns, it's safe to say the crowd has turned him heel. I don't think you're a babyface if you get "fuck you Roman" chants on the Raw after WrestleMania.
Or, go away, or delete.
That brings us to another thing. The Hardys are back in WWE. They have arrived. Matt Hardy's condition has been contained. He is no longer broken at the moment, but the Hardys are back and they're Raw Tag Team Champions.
I don't think that was the biggest pop of the night, too, is when their music hit and they came out. I thought New Day did a really awesome job of selling how they were going to possibly be the fourth team that entered, and they had all the gear ready to go, and all of a sudden the Hardys hit. So I thought that was really well done.
Well, obviously everybody they're happy that the Hardys are back. I can't wait to see what happens from here. Obviously they're wrapped up in the legal battle with Impact Wrestling. Everybody wants the Broken Universe in WWE. I don't think we're going to get it anytime soon, but we'll have to see what happens with the evil, awful Anthem Owlmen.
I was shocked, too, because Mr. McMahon came out on Raw. I was hoping we'd have a face-to-face with McMahon himself.
McMahon. So Vince McMahon came out on Raw after WrestleMania. Obviously, Kurt Angle is now a WWE Hall of Famer, and he's also the general manager of Monday Night Raw. You think they made the right pick?
I think they did. I thought, Vinnie Mac said it himself. He was like, you all know who it is anyway, so bring him out here. And that Teddy Long touch I thought was really funny. So I think they definitely made the right pick, and I'm glad they're going with kind of the comedic Kurt Angle for now anyway. You could see him with like Enzo and Cass and Sami Zayn and Jinder Mahal. I thought his comedic timing is so good. It's just, when Big Cass started spelling soft and Kurt Angle looks at the camera, he's like, that's not how you spell soft.
Well, I think it should get even funnier when Stephanie McMahon returns too,
Exactly,
because
yeah.
they've always had really great chemistry together, McMahon and Angle. So that should be definitely something to look forward to. NXT call-ups. We got 3 NXT call-ups this week. Of course, the Revival. They're now on Raw. So hopefully, we'll have to wait and see how they fit into the division. Let's look back a year ago. Enzo and Cass got called up, and they haven't done much.
I think it's different though, because no slight or slight whatever. I don't give a shit. Enzo and Cass aren't near the ring technicians that these guys are, so I feel like these guys are just a better all-around tag team. And personally, I'm really looking forward to hopefully seeing them versus a Sheamus and Cesaro type. I feel like that match could just tear the house down.
Yeah, I mean, the Raw tag team division is sort of in a weird... I mean, the tag team divisions in WWE in general are sort of in a weird place. Obviously, now you got the Hardys, but you don't really have, anybody really to go up against them. Now we got Enzo and Big Cass. They got a shot, but they're, faces. They're going to be fighting faces. It's going to be weird.
I think there's a breakup brewing there, especially after Raw, the way they were talking. So maybe it's for the best. I think for Big Cass it'll be the best. For Enzo, I don't know. I mean, he's definitely a great mouthpiece, but I don't think they see... I mean, all the things you're hearing, they don't see money in him with his in-ring skills. So I'm not really sure where they're going to go from there, but I'm excited to see Sheamus and Cesaro versus the Hardys. That should be a good match, too. And I just hope they do right. I mean, bringing up the Revival, it's not a cure-all or by any means, but they're a legitimate tag team. They've been a tag team. They're not just 2 single guys that have been thrown together. And they work in the ring like a tag team. So that's something that I really feel like has always been missing. A lot of times they bring in all these teams or whatnot. Even the New Day, no slight to them. I mean, they had the longest reign in history and everything, but it's just 3 guys that kind of threw together. Even a lot of their matches was a lot of just their single moves and then tagged the new guy in. He did his single moves. I mean, they had the finisher there for a little while with Big E and Kofi, but the Revival's just they're tag team specialists, and I think that's really going to help that division out a lot.
Well, I think that SmackDown kind of made out in the NXT call-ups. Nothing against the Revival. I think that's going to be awesome. They're joining the Raw Tag Team division, but SmackDown got former 2-time NXT champion Shinsuke Nakamura. Finally, he's on the main roster, and he came out, did his thing, and didn't say a word.
I thought his entrance was sick, man. I'm glad. I kind of liked the way they did that. They were just like, they presented him as like, this is a big deal type situation, and like you said, they didn't give him a mic, and they didn't have him bump Miz or anything out of the ring. I thought it set up a cool scenario where he just came out to let it be known, like, I'm here, I'm on SmackDown Live, tune in next week to see what the hell happens. I thought it was a pretty cool cliffhanger, actually. I know a lot of people were down on it, but again, you have the brand split shakedown, or the Superstar Shake-Up they're going to do, so you don't even know if The Miz is going to be on SmackDown next week, so I'm glad they left it with kind of a cliffhanger.
Well, SmackDown also got Ty Dillinger. I have no idea how he did this, but he pulled off a win over Kurt Hawkins.
Dude, that's probably his first win in a long time, too. So it's funny because he was like basically the Kurt Hawkins down in NXT, where he was just so over, but he was still putting talent over. So I thought he did a great job, man. He looked so comfortable, too, coming out. His entrance was awesome. I was a little upset he didn't have his sweet vest, thing with the huge neck backing. But other than that, I thought it was a pretty awesome entrance, and the crowd was so hyped for him, too. Yeah,
come on, Ty Dillinger, you got to pop the collar, man.
I know.
Got to pop that collar. Well, I mean, of course, we got NXT. We had 3 call-ups this week. Vince McMahon has announced the Superstar Shake-Up, which is basically like a less intense draft, it seems. So, I mean, they haven't really clearly defined what the rules are, how this is going to work. They can make trades, but it's not going to be like a draft lottery like it was before. So
WWE, dude, they're thinking right now, they're like, how are we going to do this? Like, it's definitely not planned it out yet.
Absolutely.
Vince just got the name and was like, I'm telling everyone.
Yeah. I mean, it'll have a different name by Sunday. Well, in any case, regardless of how they do it, we know that some people are switching brands. It seems like AJ Styles is the favorite to jump to Raw. He came out on SmackDown this week, made his peace with Shane McMahon. He said, I want to stay right here on SmackDown, which means he's probably going to Raw.
He's definitely going to Raw. That's like having a match in your hometown. You're going to lose.
Yeah, right.
I think it's going to be it's going to be something to see, man. I mean, I love AJ Styles. The one thing when Nakamura came out, I was all excited about was him and AJ Styles possibly having a chance to feud. But I see definitely AJ being the top guy to be moving brands. They need to do a shake-up, and they need to, shock the internet type stuff or get some things going. And I think AJ moving to Raw would be a pretty big deal. The only thing I'm worried about is there's a lot of main event talent over there that I think Vince McMahon likes a lot. I mean, I think he likes AJ Styles, but I think he really likes your Brock Lesnar's, your Roman Reigns, your guys of that caliber. And I just hope AJ doesn't go over there just to put those guys over. I think a lot of people are really behind AJ Styles, so I'm hoping to see him go over there and just tear everything up again, tear the house down.
Well, that's my thing. So he goes to Raw. Who does he feud with? You know what I mean? Who's he going to feud with? You can't put him in a feud with Brock Lesnar because Brock Lesnar's just going to kill him. You know what I mean? Who's he going to feud with?
The other thing I was thinking too is there's not enough heels over there to really. I mean, you got Finn as a face, you got Seth as a face. Unless they're thinking about turning Finn, which could happen. Then you're gonna bring AJ over, and he's basically a face. I mean, the guy tries his damnedest to be a heel, but it's just not fucking happening. You know, I shoot jump shots all day, but I'm never gonna be in the NBA. So they just gotta come to that conclusion that look, the guy's a face whether you want him to be or not. Same thing with Roman, the dude's a heel whether you want him to be or not. So I'm just looking at it as they don't have enough heels over there really to bring a guy like AJ over. I mean, they had to get Shane McMahon, who's a babyface, and he was being booed at WrestleMania. So it's like. I don't see how it's going to work for AJ over there, but what the hell do I know?
The only thing I could think of right now, like you say, they turn Finn Balor heel and have him align himself with the club. Then you got like the whole club feud going on, which seemed to be teased a little bit at SummerSlam last year before Balor got injured. So I think that could be really interesting and
or the
really
Triple
fun.
H faction too of Joe and Owens. You can just be all NXT guys and make a new kind of club type deal too.
That's true. That's true. Well, okay, so AJ Styles seems to be the favorite in regard to top stars jumping from SmackDown to Raw. Who do you think we're going to see jump from Raw to SmackDown?
Yeah, I've been thinking about that, and I was thinking somebody like along the lines of a Sammy or a Cesaro, because people have been asking for it. But personally, I think Cesaro's in the best spot he's going to be in WWE right now as the tag team with Sheamus. These guy had a singles career forever, and they didn't really do much with him. And right now, he's got a prominent role. He gets prominent TV time, mic time, and they're letting him put on these great matches. And I like Sheamus as well, so I see that being a good spot for Cesaro, believe it or not. Unless they're gonna really push him to the moon on SmackDown, I'd say leave him there. And so I was relegated to maybe a Sami Zayn, who I don't know how big of a name that is to move, but like we were talking about off there, I don't see Roman Reigns going to SmackDown as a good move for WWE. The guy just retired The Undertaker. He's the hottest heel or the biggest baby, whatever you want to say. The guy gets the biggest crowd reaction. I know we said that about Cena for so many years, but he literally gets such a reaction when he comes out. You got to keep that on. You have 3 hours of Raw to fill. You need a guy like Roman Reigns, and I don't see him moving to SmackDown as a good move either. So I think it's going to be somebody more along the lines of a Sami Zayn, maybe a Finn. It's just I don't really know. I mean, it could be cool if like a Rollins or somebody moved over there, because you're going to need somebody other than Orton to really. I think Bray is going to still be the biggest heel over there. So I'm thinking maybe a good baby face like a Seth Rollins type deal, or maybe a Finn.
I'm thinking it's got to be Seth Rollins because, Randy Orton is out there. He's a 13-time world champion. I mean, of course, Randy Orton is a huge star, but you can't build your brand around him anymore. You know what I mean? Look at what they did with SmackDown. They built it around AJ Styles and Dean Ambrose for months, and that worked out well. I think they got to switch it up and, throw Seth Rollins in the AJ Styles spot. You know that he can have good matches with anybody. Bray Wyatt, Seth Rollins extended feud could be something really cool. You know what I mean? We've seen Bray Wyatt torment Roman Reigns and Dean Ambrose for months at a time. Yeah. So I think that could be cool, Seth Rollins, Bray Wyatt. But we'll have to wait and see how it goes.
Yeah, it just popped in my head just thinking out loud, too. You could have somebody like a Braun and a Baron Corbin. Those two guys could swap, too. And Braun could just fucking dominate SmackDown Live, and I would tune in every week.
Well, one SmackDown superstar who Braun won't be dominating if he jumps over is Simon Gotch, because Simon Gotch has been released. Ooh. How could they dare break up the Vaudevillains?
I don't know, man. From the stories you hear about that guy backstage, from the lack of push he got, from everything else, bye-bye. I said, they mutually agreed upon the release, but I really feel like WWE was like, yeah, there's the door.
Yeah, get out of here.
No slight to him, though. Hopefully he gets big on the indies, and maybe he has a shot to come back at some point. I didn't see what the point of really keeping him on the roster anyway.
Well, I mean, WWE releases, they always come in waves. So now I'm just scared that, we're going to lose, like, Eva Marie or something.
Oh yeah, well she is next, isn't she?
Seems to be.
Her
Seems
contract. So.
Seems to be.
It could be Emma. I mean, she finally made her debut, and then they just shit can her right after.
She's back with the hockey pads. She's back.
How funny would that be, though? She finally makes her long-awaited debut again after making her debut again, and then they're like, "Oh, by the way, we just come to terms with your release."
I mean, that sounds like a very WWE move, so I could totally see that.
I'd feel so bad for her, but I'm an asshole, so I'd definitely laugh my ass off.
Well, I'm not looking forward to anybody getting released. I hope everybody can keep their job. I am looking forward to the Superstar shakeup, and I just can't wait to see how that all plays out. Maybe we'll get some tag teams split up. I mean, how messed up would it be if they split up the Hardys right away?
That's actually a good call, man. There's another thing they could do. I could definitely see... Matt's always getting switched to the lesser of the brand, so he might go to 205 Live. I mean, he was ECW champ for a while in WWE's version, so... that's a good call, man. Again, we brought up Enzo and Cass. I was sensing kind of a split. Maybe they're going to get separated, too.
Well, here's the thing. Brock Lesnar is once again Universal Champion. Now, I don't know. Let's go back in the Wayback Machine. I don't know if you guys remember last time Brock Lesnar was WWE Champion. It's kind of hard to remember because he never showed up. But he's not currently being advertised for Payback, so it looks like we're back to business as usual. Brock showed up on Raw on Monday. He said, "Oh, fuck Roman Reigns, fuck Braun Strowman," but it doesn't look like he's going to fight either one of them anytime soon. You got my
attention.
Right, but I mean, so Brock is just going to disappear again. That's what it's looking like right now.
Dude, they should film something badass, like Brock's up in Canada hunting moose or something, and then he shoots it, and all of a sudden Braun Strowman just stands up, pulls off the moose head, and runs at fucking Brock. That'd be such a dope angle. Nobody's chased Brock down in his hometown. That'd be something cool to do.
Well, I think everybody, I mean, I can't speak for everybody, but it seems that there are a lot of people out there who really want to see Braun Strowman versus Brock Lesnar. I am one of them.
Which means we're getting Brock Lesnar versus Roman Reigns.
Well, I mean, current plans reportedly call for Brock and Roman to headline WrestleMania 34
again
in New Orleans. Again. So, I mean, will this be the match where Roman finally beats Brock?
Do you care?
Not really.
It's funny, though. This is going to be, what, his fourth year in a row headlining WrestleMania for Roman?
Fourth year in a row.
Jesus
Fourth year
Christ,
in a row.
man.
Not even John Cena headlined 3 in a row.
Not even the man himself, John Cena. Dude, that's fucking nuts to think about. 4 years in a row. He only won the Rumble once, right? So the Rumble's basically just like, no, who wants to headline? If Roman wins, that's the headlining match. If not, he's still the headlining match.
Well, I mean, look at that. Randy Orton won the Rumble. What was he, like, third to last or something?
Yeah, they put the SmackDown Divas women after him.
So, can we just talk about... So, Bray Wyatt has the power to project worms or something in the ring now?
Yeah, once or twice. It was worms and then cockroaches, and then on SmackDown Live, he had the power to put himself on the ramp. They're not really utilizing his powers all that great.
No, his powers, like the idea of him having powers are pretty awesome. Like, when The Undertaker used to shoot lightning and stuff.
Yeah, it would have been cooler if, like, the lights went out and then a bunch of worms dropped from the sky on Randy Orton, but they just used that high school projector that they use. I don't know. Yeah, it is what it is.
Looked like you got frozen on the wrong slide or something.
Oh, my God, dude. That poor guy.
So, I mean, what did they accomplish with Bray Wyatt in the past couple months? Nothing, really. Bray Wyatt or Randy Orton's supposed to be the babyface here.
Yeah, maybe they were just killing time for Eric Rowan's big return. You never know.
You got to give him credit, though. That gas mask was pretty epic.
I thought it was sick as hell, dude. As soon as I saw that, I was like, wow, that's badass. And I was like, oh, yeah, it's Eric Rowan.
Well, I mean, I would say that Bray probably has to recruit some new Wyatt family members now. So, hey, maybe Bo will go to SmackDown in the Superstar Shakeup.
Bo's beard's trying like hell, man. He's working on it.
He's trying like hell. Bray Wyatt has already said that he wants to work with Bo and that Bo is the greatest wrestler. We just don't understand yet.
I understand. I agree.
Hey, man, I still Bo Leave. I mean, didn't you try to buy a Bo Leave shirt a couple of years ago at a pay-per-view and they didn't have it there?
Yeah, they only had Cena shirts. It fucking sucked, man. And I like Cena, whatever, but, give me some variety.
Speaking of John Cena, ladies, he's no longer on the market, so if you were hoping to sign his relationship contract, it is now null and void because he is engaged to Nikki Bella.
That doesn't mean anything to Cena. Didn't he cheat on his last wife?
I know nothing about that, but all I know...
We're not supposed to talk about this?
All I know...
Hustle, loyalty, respect. Except you, bitch.
All I know is that he never gives up and he's never gonna give up.
Kicked out of 2 on his last fucking vows. Let's see what happens this go around.
He's never gonna give up on his relationship with Nikki.
That was such a lame thing, dude.
Everybody was, come on, man. Everybody had tears in their eyes. They were cutting onions in the front row.
When you were passed out, I asked you one question.
I didn't really quite understand that speech. I will say
didn't either.
it was less than romantic.
I was really hoping for a heel turn, and just it didn't happen, man. But what are you gonna do?
I mean, you're not going to get seen a heel turn for a while because he's going to be off doing his thing in Hollywood, so who knows what.
Could have been a Nikki heel turn, though. I asked you one question, and you said you love Dolph, not me. And then boom, Dolph's a main event player again.
Oh,
Dolph
geez.
season coming up early.
There you go. What is Dolph Ziggler up to nowadays? What was he in the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal?
Yeah, I think he's still in a few of the Apollo Crews and Kalisto and, Simon Gotch. And
Is that still happening?
I don't know, man. Dude, turning him heel was such a great idea. They just didn't capitalize on it at all.
No, they didn't capitalize on it at all because, there was that one time he kicked the screen.
Dude, I'm not gonna lie, that was awesome. That was
pretty
awesome in the same way Bray Wyatt had worms.
Well, let's see. Raw after Mania, SmackDown after Mania. Which show did you think was better this week?
I put them both even keel, man. I mean, I was thoroughly entertained both times, so I'm not gonna pick just one because Raw was 3 hours and I actually sat through the whole thing. I had a good time. I mean, they kept my attention for the most part, so I'm not gonna shit on either brand this week. I'm gonna say they both knocked it out of the park in my book.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Raw is tough, 3-hour show, but obviously Raw after Mania is a little bit different. We did have a Beach Ball Mania chant during the Cruiserweight match, which isn't really all that different.
Which sucks because that match was phenomenal too. I mean, kudos to the guys. I mean, they worked right through it. I thought that match definitely stood out to me as an awesome moment on Raw.
Well, yeah,